What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to the MMA Savvy Podcast. It's your favorite host, Ari Weiss, and today we'll be discussing UFC Fight Night Hill vs. Rountree Jr. that went down Saturday in Azerbaijan. Then we'll also preview UFC 317 Topuria vs. Oliveira that takes place in Vegas this coming weekend. In standard Savvy fashion, we'll go through the card, analyze all the big fights, and drop our official MMA Savvy fight picks. So with that, let's go straight to the card and get moving. All right, so let's go recap Hill versus Rountree Jr. that happened Saturday in Azerbaijan. I love it when it's a special international setting, right? We're growing the sport. We're getting the crazy fans out there, getting them all excited. The crowds are usually louder. The engagement's a little bit more, maybe because we're just spoiled in the U.S. because we get cards all the time. So anyway, I love it when it's the international crowds and card. Now, I got to say, though, overall, and I'm going to get to it, a little bit of a letdown in the main event. I'm a big-time Rountree guy. Hill, very disappointing in his performance. I'm kind of perplexed right now, but overall it was a great night of fights, right? And it was exciting, except maybe for the main event. So let's unpack this. All right, let's go straight into the first fight of the main card. Naimov versus Bogdan Grad. Man, this was close. There's a little controversy here. Of course, I had Naimov against Rich and Nico. They had the balls and the smarts to take Grad. And I got to say, the night kicked off. It was exciting. You know, the crowd was going nuts. And I thought you could say Naimov maybe squeaked the first round because he had a bigger kick. Grad did get the takedown. It was very close. It could have gone either way. Not much happened. Maybe Naimov peppered him a little bit more, but you might make the argument that Grad stole that first round. Round two goes to Grad. He outworked him. He wrestled him. He grappled him. He had more strikes, and it looked like, oh, damn, Grad was winning this fight, right? Then you get to the third round, and here's the real controversial round, baby. Grad was actually winning again, and he sort of makes this maneuver. He was trying to transition, and he lets Naimov get the top position. So Naimov basically just lucked out. He got top position. He didn't really do much with it, but hey, he controlled him for a couple of minutes. And so then finally they got back to their feet. Now we go to the judges' scorecards, and I will agree with Nico and Rich that I feel like Grad had won the entirety of the fight. But if you look at it just round by round, Naimov had better strikes in round one. You probably give it to him. Grad definitely gets round two. And Naimov was on top for a big part of round three, although not really doing much damage. So you give it to my guy, unanimous 29-28. Nico and Richie not happy about that, but I'll take it. And I will say, like, I think Grad could be a problem at featherweight, where Naimov, he's decent, but I think he needs to work on a lot more. He needs to work on his wrestling and his grappling and the defense against stronger guys like Grad. Okay, then the rest of the night was insane. You get to Sadykhov, Motta. What a fight. I would be going nuts about Sadykhov right now, saying that he's my guy. Here's my one thing is Motta had him so hurt in that first round, he unloaded like 75 punches. And I gotta say, Sadykhov was at the point where he could have been stopped. And other refs, I was texting Richie this, 50% of the refs maybe already stopped this fight. So I almost feel bad for Motta, even though the ref did a good job, because he let Sadykhov, cover up a little bit longer. He almost went down a couple times, like he was almost conceding the fight, but the ref let him go. And then boom, explosion right back because Motta punched himself out. But one last thing, I just got to say, I feel like the win is a little bit marred because it looked like Sadykhov was out of there and he was given extra time, maybe more than other fighters. So with that, though, as soon as they let the fight go, Motta kind of punched himself out because he threw 75 punches or something like that, they said. So then Sadykhov goes on the offensive. He starts just laying huge shots on Motta. Looks unbelievable. And I had talked about him in the pre-fight analysis. He won 4 of his first 5 fights. He hasn't lost in the UFC yet. And you can see why. The minus 395 favorite took the fight over, handles round 1, and then into round 2 just continues the onslaught, just batters Motta until finally he gets the stoppage. Unbelievable performance from Sadykhov. And now he's a problem at lightweight. He could be right outside of that top 15. Nico's probably chomping at the bits for his next fight here because he's a lightweight guy, and now all of a sudden you got a new killer at lightweight, besides that little asterisk in the beginning of the fight. But it was also great for the hometown kid to get such a big win, and maybe I'm a Sadykhov guy. We'll see how it goes. All right, Musayev, another hometown guy, versus Orolbai, and I basically called that the analysis was spot on. Orolbai, unbelievable grappling, just takes Musayev down early because that guy is definitely dangerous, right? Orolbai uses his grappling, uses his wrestling, really just controls him the whole round, and then ends up finishing him with a very vicious Kimura that looked scary. And I'm like, damn, this guy, major problem now. Watch out for Orolbai. This guy could mow through a lot of people. So, you know, that's probably all I'm going to say there. We all had him, and we all thought that this probably would be the case. I thought Musayev was going to fight a little bit more and not make it such easy work for Orolbai. But hey, look out for this guy going forward. Killer from Kyrgyzstan. Okay, now we get to the bigger fights. Blaydes, number 5 heavyweight in the world, versus Kuniev. Now, this fight actually was unbelievable, I gotta say, and I knew from the beginning this was so risky from Blaydes. Why would you take this fight? And I get it because of the logjam of the Jon Jones and the Aspinall, which of course we're going to touch on today, right? Blaydes wanted to fight. He probably needed money. He wanted to stay active. So he decided to risk it and take this new killer, Kuniev, right? Who's been beating people in the PFL and the Contender Series and Eagle FC. But I thought he'd be stepping up way too far in class. I mean, he's going all the way against Blaydes, the number 5 guy. Blaydes does squeak round 1 with a little wrestling, maybe some more control, but Kuniev is in it. And then all of a sudden, round 2, Kuniev completely changes the fight. It was unbelievable. He was landing heavy strikes. There was even a second there I thought, oh my God, is he going to finish this fight? Blaydes is in trouble. I thought Kuniev was going to win this fight. And then the third round, I think this was a little controversial. I thought maybe Kuniev did more in the third round, but Blaydes did, you know, grapple him a little bit. He controlled him. He did pepper him with some shots, but I thought Kuniev near the end started landing the big shots again, the big blows, and I thought maybe Kuniev was going to get this, but Blaydes squeaks the split decision and keeps his number 5 ranking. The story is, damn, Blaydes, you can't have that kind of a layoff. Also risky taking fights with killers like this when they're unranked, but at least he got the win and now he'll move on. But the bigger story is, holy shit, Kuniev has arrived. He's now a problem in that top 15 because maybe he should be ranked after this, taking the number 5 guy to the brink. I like this Kuniev. Okay, let's keep moseying along here. Co-main event, Fiziev, Bahamondes. Fiziev, number 11 lightweight in the world, right? And of course, Nico and Rich both have Fiziev. I had the gusto to take Bahamondes. And you know what? I'm happy that my pick didn't land because I was undefeated going into this fight. Anyway, I got such a big lead. So I love that Fiziev, he does more in round 1. He does more in round 3. Unbelievable grappling and just great strikes. I mean, it looked like he was back. He was in great shape. He was a beast. Love Fiziev. He's back, baby. Bahamondes, the story is a little bit of disappointment. He kind of didn't really go for it. Once he sort of lost round 1, and round one was very close, I got to say. It maybe could have gone either way because not much happened. But then in 2 and 3, he didn't do enough to try to win the fight. He was doing all these fancy, you know, spin kicks. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing here? He did try to go for a couple singles, but you're not going to take Fiziev down. He should have gone for broke more when he realized, especially after he lost round 2, go for broke in 3. And it just looked like Bahamondes was sort of perplexed. He didn't know what to do, and he just let the fight kind of slip away from him. So shame on me for taking that pick. But still, I mean, he was in there, and I'm still happy that Fiziev did it. I'll take the loss. Nice work by Nico and Rich to hold the fort. Realized Fiziev was going to reset himself here. Huge win. And I love also for Azerbaijan, the hometown kid, getting the W. Now look out for Fiziev. He's back now, and he probably should get a really good fight next. Okay, main event, Hill, Rountree Jr. It didn't end up being this major, exciting fight that we all thought it was going to be, right? And again, this is number 4 in the world, Hill, versus number 7 in the world, Rountree Jr. Now, I called this perfectly because I nailed Rountree Jr. and exactly what I said happened. He just has too much power for Hill. He's got too much precision. And I thought he looked better than I've ever seen because he was more patient and less risky like he was with Pereira. He sort of had a brawl with Pereira, which is a mistake. This, he was very calculated. He was precise. He stayed within himself. It was very, very impressive. And really, he got every round. It was the leg kicks early on that were just unbelievable and kind of hurt Hill. He couldn't move. It would really just change the whole fight because he couldn't really stand. It's almost like after the first couple rounds, a lot of leg kicks and even a knockdown in round 2. And then after that, Hill just looked like he wasn't even there to win. He never went for broke. He just let the fight just slip away. And so before I get into the disappointment of Hill, though, I just want to say, man, Rountree Jr. impressed me so much because he stayed within himself. He didn't get into this brawl, this firefight, which is going to be something I'm going to bring up in a second. And boom, he knocked down Hill multiple times. He won every single round. I barely even remember him getting touched up at all, except a couple meaningless leg kicks from Hill. I barely even remember any punches landing almost the entire fight. It was almost a clinic from Rountree Jr. So now I love this guy. I think I'm becoming a Rountree Jr. guy. We're going to see him in the future. And then just going back to Hill, I'm just like, man, bro, fall from grace. I mean, he would looked amazing in the Glover fight, right? Then he has the layoff. He has the surgery. He comes back, has that horrible loss to Pereira, but we all thought maybe he just got caught. Then he looks great against Jiri. He was in there. He impressed me. And at least he went for it until he got finished in what was the third round. And here was like, bro, you didn't show up. After the first couple rounds, his leg got compromised, and he just wasn't the same guy. Rich and I were both like, what is even happening here? He just like was like, all right, I'll just collect the paycheck, and I'm just going to go home with the loss. It was like, but your career is dwindling here with this loss. You know how severe that loss was to your career? So I'm just really more disappointed in Hill and more just confused. It was like by the third or the fourth or the fifth round, when you know you're going to lose anyway, go for broke, man. That's what I loved about Buckley the week before when he was down. Every time they were on the feet, he was throwing scary bombs in Usman's way. And that's what Hill should have done. Now, it's easy for me, again, to say from the couch, why aren't you throwing more? He was definitely compromised. He was hurt. And when he did throw, Rountree Jr. had better power. So I get it. You don't want to get your head knocked off by this new up-and-coming killer Rountree. But still, what do you want to just lose and just have this bad decision loss? So I'm just very perplexed, very confused by this. Rountree Jr., he's going to get a big fight because now he's number 4 in the world. Oh, man, he deserves. Let's actually look at that really quickly on the fly because I know this is what Nico's going to be wondering. Rountree Jr., where do you go, baby? He's going to be 4 in the world. Maybe give him an Olberg who's sitting there, right? Maybe Jiri when he comes back. Ankalaev is still angling for the Pereira fight that hasn't been booked. Most likely that's going to happen. Maybe a Rakic if he's still chilling there, or a Reyes who is also on a run. Tons of options. There isn't enough movement in that top 5. Let's get something booked, Dana. I like all those options. Okay, so anyway, it was still an overall, it was a great card. I love the international cards. Bisping kept saying, oh my God, listen to this crowd. It was getting me pumped up. It was just a little bit of a lackluster main event. And maybe Richie was right. The big pay-per-view fights at night, a little bit more magic going on in the air here than that day card, but still was fantastic. And I love the building the sport in the other areas. All right, let's move on. So before we get into our fight picks for next week, UFC 317, we got to talk about Jon Jones here. Now, I listened to Helwani. He's all pissed. He's kind of really just going crazy on it. I think now I have similar feelings, but I think I'm just so tired from it that I'm almost just relieved at this point because it's like, at least it's finally done. The charade is over, right? And it should have been over months ago because, yes, I'm going to go into a little bit of a tirade on Jon Jones. But as Nico's been saying, it's more Dana's fault. It's the UFC's fault. They've been letting them sit there for 8 months or something. Just being like, oh, yeah, John's going to tell us soon. Oh, yeah, we have the fight booked. We have the fight booked. It's like, bro, where's the urgency? It should have been International Fight Week, right? And it should have been Aspinall gone in 1 week from now. So let's partially blame the UFC here for taking their time, but I think in their defense, it was going to be the biggest fight in heavyweight history and maybe UFC history. So of course they're going to wait for it, and they're going to wait for Jon to, get his way and recover and do all the things he needs to do because he's the greatest of all time and because there's a lot of money at stake. So of course in their defense, Dana's going to wait. They're going to treat him good. They're going to treat him professionally. They're not going to, get crazy in a meeting and threaten him because they've been dealing with Jon for many, many years and it hasn't been easy. So in their defense, fine, I get it, but I still think we should have had an answer 2 to 3 months ago. Okay, but let's just talk about Jon again. Now, I don't need to go on and on about how disappointed I am and, oh my God, it was a stain to the weight class and fighting and he went out in this terrible way. I still think he's the greatest of all time. I was never a Jones fan, by the way, Richie boy. I was never a Jones fan. I was always pissed he beat all my old champions. I always wanted Rampage or Rashad or one of those guys to come in and dethrone him, and it never happened. So over time, of course, I respected him, and yes, he's the greatest of all time. There's no denying it. Anybody else who has a different point of view, they don't know what they're talking about. But I will say, like I said on the show before, his career is marred by the trouble with the police, the PEDs, the battery, just the nonsense back and forth, the waiting so long in between fights. And then, listen, it's not that I care about people getting in trouble with the police, but if you're the UFC champ that could have been the biggest star the UFC's ever had, and there was always just some stupid nonsense thing that was going on, right? After a while, you're like, bro, what are you doing, man? You have it made. You're the champ of the world. You're the best fighter of all time. And you need to be driving around drunk with weed in your car and fleeing. It was just very weird mental stuff, very immature, just strange activity that slowly I just didn't like, on top of already not really being a Jones fan. Now, let's just get to the ending here. He will always now go out a little bit. Yes, he's the greatest of all time. And I'm not like one of those guys that's going on and on about, oh, he ducked Aspinall, man. I mean, he sort of did a little bit, but I just think the way the last 3 years have played out was just the slow play, getting to Stipe, and yes, he was hurt, but he just took forever, and just not caring about other fighters, waiting, and then just this nonsense. The way he's handled this, I don't even know who Aspinall is. I'd rather fight Ngannou. Just all this nonsense. I'm just not a fan of it. I think he went out a really lame way. He should have just retired 4 months ago, let Tom go. He probably needed to think about it. I get it. But still, I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of how Jones went out. And for me, yes, he's the greatest fighter of all time, but he's not the greatest champion. He's not the greatest role model. He's not the greatest figure in UFC. It'll be marred with all this annoying trouble and just nonsense. All right, that's all I'm going to say here. Let's move on. Before we get to our final fight picks, let's take one break from our sponsor. So let's go. UFC 317. The countdown is here, baby. We're a couple days away. Topuria, Oliveira, Pantoja, Cara France, 2 title fights. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of the card. It's not what International Fight Week should have been, but it's pretty decent. Listen, it's 2 titles. I'm going to take it. Obviously, I'm a fight junkie, but I still think it could have been better. Maybe we could have had Aspinall gone, for example, and then that would have been a great fight with Topuria, Oliveira as the co-main. All right, but let's do it. Let's get pumped up anyway. No complaining here. Let's get our picks in. I'm going to rifle these off. Okay, here we go. Peyton Talbot, Philippe Lima. This got moved up to the main card once the Costa fight got canceled, which is a little bit of a bummer. Nico and Rich both taking Talbot. Smart pick, and I wanted to do it. But guys, I looked at the odds here. Lima's a -192. He's a Brazilian, which means he's a great grappler. Talbot had been on that roll. He was undefeated until Barcelos kind of knocked him off his podium with the grappling. So I got to be smart. I'm assuming Lima is a killer on the ground. So therefore, I'm going against Rich and Nico, which is becoming a theme. I'm taking Lima. They both have Talbot. But I do hope that Talbot wins because he is an American superstar on the rise. I just got to be smart with my pick here. I'm doing some underdog stuff later, so I got to hold the fort with the favorite there. Okay, then we get to big fights the rest of the way. Flyweight, #1 contender in the world, Brandon Royval. Let's see, Royval coming off that big win against Tyra. Very impressive victory there because Tyra had been undefeated and Royval said no, and he defeated that young gun coming up. It was very impressive. And then Josh Fan. It was supposed to be Cop here, as we all remember, but Josh Fan, who just came off that win against Bruno Silva, he's now 11 in the world. And we were just talking on that last show that if he gets that next opportunity, it could be like a 4 through a 6 guy. And all of a sudden, he steps in and he's going to be against the #1 contender in the world. This is big. Royval is -125 and Van is +105. Nico taking Royval. Richie's going with Van. And you know what? For the longest time, I was taking Royval because I think Van is going up too much in class here. You know, he hasn't had the competition, but he's hot. He looked great in that last fight. And so I'm going to go with Richie and take Van against Nico here and see if our boy Van can do it. I like the fight. I think it's exciting. It's a great backup. At least he salvaged the fight if you're not going to get Cop. Okay. Dariush Moicano, let's keep moving. Big lightweight fight. Dariush #9 in the world. Moicano #10 in the world. Moicano is a -162 favorite. Now listen, a couple years ago, I would have felt very confident taking Dariush after that master class against Gamrot. But since then, he loses to Oliveira, right? And he gets bum rushed and knocked out by Tarzukian. And he hasn't fought in a year and a half. So maybe Dariush's time is done. Moicano, on the other hand, he went on that crazy run, but to lose to Islam. And so they're thinking Moicano's going to run through Dariush. Dariush is going to have the ring rust. He isn't the same guy he was when he beat Gamrot almost 3 years ago. Okay? So Richie Boy is taking Moicano, and he's taking the smart bet. Nico's taking Dariush because he's always a Dariush guy. And you know what? I'm going to side with you here, Nico. I'm taking Dariush with you because I feel like, yeah, it's probably a long shot. He's probably going to be too rusty. Moicano's too hot these days. But Moicano came off that loss. Maybe it fizzled him out a little bit. And Dariush has had enough time to heal and rest. And I feel like he's young enough to have one last push in him. And he has the grappling to deal with Moicano. And I'm saying maybe he does it one last time and shocks the world, kind of like with that Gamrot fight. So I'm touching Dariush with you, Nico. Okay, co-main, Pantoja, Kara France, flyweight title of the world. Pantoja is on a monumental run. He's defended the belt multiple times. He looks unstoppable right now. But Kara France, let's just look at what he's done. Okay, after that tough loss to Moreno, he also lost to Albazi, but we all know that he won that fight. That was a terrible decision. It should never have happened that way. We all know that, right? Albazi did not deserve that. And then right after that, he knocks out Erzeg. So he's on a big run, gets straight to the title. And so now he's got a puncher's chance. Now, Pantoja is the -265. So most people think it's Pantoja here. Nico taking Kara France. Richie also taking Kara France because they're Kara France guys. They're both taking the underdog. I'm staying with Pantoja here, guys. I like Kara France too, but I'm sorry. I just think he's too hot now, Pantoja. He's beating everybody. He's beaten Moreno multiple times. He's beating Royval multiple times. I just think he's going to find a way. His grappling and his hands are just too good. And Kara France, I think he's got a shot. I like the fight, but I don't think it's going to be his night. Okay. Main event, Topuria, Oliveira. You know my feelings on this, but at least Topuria has to go through Oliveira first. I like this. So Topuria was the unstoppable, undefeated featherweight champ. He's moved up, right? And now he gets to fight Oliveira. I think it should have been Tarzukian, but that's a different rant on a different day. Oliveira is coming off the win against Chandler. He reset himself. But before that, it was the losses to Islam and Arman, and I just don't know if he's the same guy. So it is an exciting fight. It is the lightweight title of the world, and everybody wants to crown Topuria now. Let's see what happens here. Oliveira has a shot, right? But it really looks like Topuria is going to come in. He's just got unbelievable hands, which is Oliveira's problem. He's susceptible to getting hit, and if you get hit from Topuria, your lights are usually going out. But I do like the fight because Oliveira is big. He's rangy. He's kind of long for lightweight. Topuria is a bit shorter. He's only like 5'7". He will have some problems like the other guys that did have problems, like Chandler and those guys had issues with Oliveira and Gaethje. He's just weirdly, deceptively tall. He's got great hands. And if they go to the ground, Topuria's got good wrestling and grappling as well. But Charles is a killer on the ground. So I got to say, most likely it's Topuria. He's probably going to mow through Charles, but you never want to count Charles out. So I do like the fight. All right, here we go. All of us, all three savvy bros are taking Topuria because he's a minus 500. He just looks unstoppable right now. And if this had been Charles from a couple years ago, fine. But I just don't see that happening for him. I think Topuria comes in, he takes the crown, and then it becomes, who does he get next, right? Then it becomes, okay, he's finally the lightweight champ. And then, a Gaethje, Tarzukian. I know he keeps talking about this Islam nonsense. I'm done with that. Just let's get through this fight and see what happens because Islam's already probably going to fight JDM. All right, guys, those were our world famous official savvy picks. We all take Topuria there. It is going to be exciting next week in Vegas. Okay, that's it for this week. If you love these shorter episodes, make sure to hit subscribe. And if you're a real MMA enthusiast, don't forget to check out our extended Excuse the Savvy podcast episodes that come out every 2 weeks. Thank you for listening to the MMA Savvy Podcast, the world's top place for MMA content. Please subscribe, follow, comment, like, share, and blast on all of our social channels. We love the comments and interactions with the fans. So with that, stay savvy, fight fans.